Now, our first story, two persons have been confirmed dead in renewed violence at Trepone in the northeast region. Journalists has learned the tension is so high in the area, residents have been forced to flee their homes for safety. Many of them, including children, have had no food or water since the violence erupted between the Konkombas and Chokosis over the weekend. One of the residents spoke with correspondent Martina Bugri.
In fact, the situation is worrying. It's worrying. In fact, a lot of people have been displaced, and then they are now, even we don't even have a place to sleep. Our people are all over. They're spread. People are somewhere in the city, and then other nearby communities, and in fact, there is no space for them to even stay. So, in fact, for that one, it's a serious problem.
So, how are they surviving?
In fact, for that one, it's a problem because now others are now with their relatives in the nearby communities. Others don't even have the place to go. So some of them are around, they are in the bush. And others are around the area, they don't even know where to go. They are hungry. People are suffering a lot. We don't know. Any attack, any movement, they are trying to attack us. And then the military too, they are not helping us. In fact, yes, all our officers have been burned, our houses have been burned, we don't have any place to live, we don't have to speak. So we are suffering. So we are appealing to the government to come, and then any other NGOs come and support us.
We're hoping to get to speak with the police for the very latest on the violence there and the situation in the area. Once we get them, we will get to speak with them. But NADMO officials, Journalists has been speaking with, say they have been unable to provide assistance to the displaced persons because they cannot access the area. Alhaji Abdullah Hindu, the regional NADMO director, has the latest on the humanitarian situation. Good evening, and thank you for making time to speak with us, Alhaji. Now, is NADMO able to tell us the number of people who have been displaced and what has been done for them?
Hello?
Yes, Alhaji, if you can hear me, I'd just like to repeat my question again. Is NADMO able to tell us the number of people who have been displaced and what is being done for them?
If you want to talk about the number of people that has been displaced, we find it very difficult to say that. Even I've heard my brother saying that people have run into the bush, others are living with their parents at the nearby communities and friends and so. So maybe if they have started around like this, how do you be able to get at the actual number that have been displaced?
But anyway, that's not, I believe NADMO should be able to have a fair idea of the number of people in the community. We should be able
to have a fair idea, but I will not be able to tell exactly the figure.
No, I wasn't expecting you to tell me the exact number of people who have been displaced.
Yes, that is very true. In actual fact, so far I was thinking that maybe they should have run to where maybe they ran to the other time, because we are having them at Gushigu, Yuyu, and then Bunkuru, that we've gathered them over there. But as I'm speaking now, we even gathered some items from the headquarters. Even our DJ, the Director General, was supposed to be with us today for us to move with the items that they have released from the headquarters to go to those camps so that they will have their share of the relief items. But unfortunately, the thing started again on Friday evening. So for now, even to move the vehicle to that place, we are all afraid because the situation is not calm now. In fact, the military are saying that there are still firing everywhere because even they themselves, actually, they don't know exactly where to tackle. They don't know exactly where to defend. They will be here, and then you hear firing in another communities. So far, we have gathered about 16 communities that have been burned. That we have gathered about 16 communities, and then about so far in the evening it was about 467 that were recorded. Now the number has increased up to 678 as I'm speaking now. That information that we've had from our district directors and then the zonal coordinators. But for now, the fighting is still ongoing. But with the intervention of the military, the situation on the ground is getting calm. So we are hoping that by tomorrow, if things are normalized, then our people will be able to go to the nearby communities, or where they have the communities that have been bent, or where they have run to, will be able to do the assessment and get the actual figures for their relief distance. But so far, we have vehicles that have been loaded, waiting for us to move even to that communities. And the thing happens again. That means we have to go back and then readdress our assessment reports again. Because what we have now should have catered for those that we have gathered the last incident. But this time around, the numbers are now increasing. If we don't take counsel, it will be even more than what we've gathered the other time. The last time it was 19 communities that we have recorded. But so far, today, we have recorded about 16, but we haven't finished yet. The assessment is still ongoing. So until tomorrow, even we'll be able to tell exactly what we have gathered. Maybe tomorrow the situation will be normalized or calm. So we are hoping that tomorrow we'll be able to tell exactly what the figures that we have.
All right. All right, thank you very much. You heard Alhaji Abdullahi Hindu. He's a regional NADMO director, bringing us the latest on the humanitarian situation. He's talking about the difficulties in getting relief to the people who have been displaced. Meanwhile, Acting Minister for the newly created Northeast Region, Salif Hussaid, says the Regional Security Council is adopting new strategies to help bring lasting peace to the area.
We have been working day and night, 24/7, to ensure that the situation is brought to normalcy. It's unfortunate that the fight has ignited again, because last week Tuesday, the report by the committee that was set up was presented to the Minister of Interior. But little did we know that this unacceptable violent confrontation will happen between the two ethnic communities. So RISEC, that is the Regional Security Council, together with the two DISECs, that is the DISEC of Cherpune District as well as the Saboba District Security Committees. We are working closely, and also the police and the military, they have deployed enough security on the ground, and we are working closely with the key stakeholders to see to it that this thing is brought to finality so that that conflict doesn't happen. So I just want to assure the general public that the situation will be normalized. It's unfortunate that it happened, but it will be okay.
So on the ground in Tripoli right now, what exactly is happening from the information that you've gathered? No, what exactly is happening on
for now, the situation is calm. The security, especially, we put more military to give backup to the police. So they have been positioned at very strategic communities that we thought that there could be that potential attack, and it has been brought under control. It has been brought under control.
So that then it keeps recurring. So is there anything that is being done to ensure justice so perpetrators are brought to book, so people don't take advantage and continue doing this?
Yes, that is what we are going to do. We are now going to ensure that we use the duty bearers of the area, ensuring that the youth group, the local authorities, opinion leaders, and we get even people, the religious leaders, both Christian community and then the Muslim community, to come together to see how the local people can own the process of getting final solution to the problem. So I'm very convinced that the methodology that we are going to use this time, the Cherpune intermittent conflict that we are witnessing in recent past, will come to an end.
Workers at the University of Ghana Medical School, Akolibu, are threatening to stop all teaching and learning over a directive by the National Council for Tertiary Education over the payment of their overtime allowances. The Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEU, and the Federation of University Senior Staff Association of Ghana say NCT, in a letter to the universities, has advised against the continued payment of their hospital night overtime, as well as travel and transport allowances, termed as Category 2 and 3 stipends. But Chairman of FUSAC, Haruna Rafiq, says that NCT is being unfair. Efwa Evans-Chenry reports.
According to a letter issued by the National Council for Tertiary Education last month, Senior staff of some public universities shall not be eligible for overtime allowances since they assign responsibilities to subordinates. The statement has angered Tewu and Fusak members who claim they are assigned the same responsibilities as junior staff and must be paid for working overtime. They are threatening to stop work if government fails to address their grievances. Haruna Rafiq speaks for them.
You know, how we do overtime, it is not that the staff involved decides on his or her own accord to come and do overtime. You are actually requested to come and do the overtime. Our staff have worked for February, which is supposed to be paid in March. But as we speak, that hasn't been paid. That hasn't been paid. It is outstanding. And we have sent a clear signal to them that at the end of this month, if we do not get that overtime paid for those who were actually asked to come and do overtime, the campus wouldn't be very conducive for all of us to be in here. So that is the letter that has come from NCT, and this is the response from unionized staff. That's Tewu and Fusag. We are coming from Kolebu. You may ask why Kolebu, but because you know the medical school is in Kolebu, and all the staff there, like we keep saying, the clinical departments in Kolebu are all headed by senior members who are appointed by this university. And these people do not work in isolation, they work with staff. And so when we advise ourselves and we decide to withdraw our staff, it's going to affect a lot of, because Department of Surgery, Department of Medicine, Obs and Gynae, Child Health, all these clinical departments, in fact, the dental clinic, we have our staff there. We man these areas. And when we decide that we are no longer going to render our services, I think it wouldn't be so good. So management, and for that matter, NCTE, should re-look at this issue and then address it properly so that we don't get to that point. We don't also want to get there, but we think that if people have worked, they should be paid adequately compensated for. That's our problem.
He added NCTE must pay attention to the issues and motivate them to discharge their duties effectively and creditably.
A driver and his mate who engaged in a brawl with a police officer have been remanded for 2 weeks by Weija Circuit Court. Francis Watting, the driver, and his mate Albert Ansah, who were captured in the viral video, pleaded not guilty to the 4 counts leveled against them. They are due to reappear in court on April 1, 2019. Joy News' Henry Kwesi Badu sat through court proceedings in Weija and now reports.
This video has gone viral since Friday, 15th March 2019. The two, Francis Boabeng, driver, 26, and his mate, Albert Ansah, 33, have been charged with conspiracy to commit crime, assault on public officer, causing unlawful damage, and causing road obstruction. They pleaded not guilty to all the 4 charges leveled against them. But as soon as the Weija Circuit Court judge, Bernard Bentel, remanded them for 2 weeks, they burst into tears. Brother of the driver, Justice Yao Addo, says his brother will have his day in court and tell his side of the story.
Andra, anopano, ana me papa flame, no catch them say Martin Yaba, I'm said, you know, say my junior brother. No.
I heard the news yesterday. My father informed me, but I couldn't get to the police station because it was a Sunday. When I heard he was apprehended for beating up a police officer, I was shocked. My only brother will tell his side of the story. He is so calm, and I think there is more to the viral video.
Me expect sir, and I mean me brother no that way, but me who say yes, Annie, it's life, and you know, we joining a man.
The public relations officer of the Greater Accra Regional Police Command, DSP Efia Tenge, says the police will continue to investigate the incident, adding the complainant, Constable Julius Maoli Epe, will also be interrogated.
The police officer was even being called to also answer questions on the said assaults that were reported on him. So this is how we get in the pockets of information regarding what really happened. So if we are getting some counter reports, then it means that we need to do due diligence and reports to be able to get do further investigations on it to get what really happened. I also do not know why turn back to a police station will just warrant this kind of beating. So that one will also mean that we also need to do our work well. If a police officer stops you and asks that for this kind of motor traffic offense that you have caused, you need to return back to the station, I don't see why that should warrant this kind of assault on the officer. So it means that the investigator in this case must also do a good work for us to all understand.
The accused persons will be kept at the Odoko police station until they reappear before court on April 1, 2019. Henry Kwesi-Bedu's report for Joy News.
Well, the East Legon District Command, Police District Command, is investigating 2 complaints brought before it involving leader of the Glorious Word Power Ministries, Reverend Isaac Osubempa, and radio presenter Mugabe Salifu Mase from Radio XYZ. Reverend Osubempa was reported to have led a group of men to Radio XYZ on Friday to demand to see one of the presenters who is said to have threatened him during his broadcast. Now, staff of the station say the men who accompanied the pastor were wielding guns and seized some phones they assumed were being used to film the incident. The Ghana Journalists Association is one of a number of organizations which have condemned the attack. General Secretary Edmond Kofi Ewa is urging the Ghana Police Service to swiftly investigate the matter.
You recall about 4 months ago, if my memory serves me right, December 13th, 2018, there was a similar report about Osubempa going to Hot FM, also based in Accra, to vandalize some studio equipment there. So if you add the 2 incidents, you get the impression that the guy is gaining some notoriety of a violent person, and so it was important for the law to check him up. And we believe that even if you put the rule of law aside and you even engage the very forum which he tries on, being the Bible does not condone violence in any way. And in our press statement, we have cited the example in the Old Testament where God had to rebuke Cain for killing his brother Abel.
Well, Reverend Osubempa, who has been explaining why he went to Radio XYZ last Friday, says his intention was not to attack anyone.
To be any opportunity to radio show, or to make kasa, no good publicity. Because
he tends to denigrate me at every little opportunity he gets to speak on air. It's very painful. Some individuals have not heard my side of the story and are already insulting me. When someone says he has been meeting you at an occultic meeting and you don't challenge him to prove it, the world will say it is true. Initially, I decided to report it to the East Legon police. But as the Bible says, when your brother wrongs you, you go to him, and even if he doesn't listen, you go with someone. And if that fails, then you do whatever you want to do. So as a man of God, I decided to go there in peace to speak to the manager and to tell Mugabe to desist from insulting me.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, Professor Paul Manso, has charged the Ghana Journalists Association and the National Media Commission to set up and sanitize the airwaves. Reacting to the several attacks on journalists, Professor Manso said the 2 institutions are to blame for their inaction, which he believes has led to what he calls unchecked freedom of on-air journalists. He spoke with Bernice Abu Bedu.
For every nation to prosper, we will need security and safety, even to drive in investors, for the academia, for religion, for arts, entertainment, and everything. So without safety, we are doomed. And personally, I have been worried and disturbed about the current trends. Over the years, we see some of these things, but it has been too much, and it's quite unpleasant. So I think I agree with what the Bureau is proposing and what they are talking about, and I want to engage the church, the media, the civil society, and everyone to join them in campaigning for public peace and safety. So GJA, the first institution, Brother Afremoni, my church member and a good friend, and all your people, you must sit up. In account, we say, so if anybody attacks a journalist, we must also know why, even though he has no right, the worst is he should report him to the National Media Commission or even take the person to court rather than doing that nasty thing. That should not happen. Also inform your journalists to practice, to be professionals and hold the association or the institution, the profession into high esteem. There are a lot of wonderful journalists in Ghana who are chalking international awards. We want to promote that. The second is NMC. I really don't know what they're doing. They should bite.
Now joining us on phone right now is Joseph Wutal, is the Shrach Commissioner, and we're going to be speaking with him about a number of these attacks that have been reported in recent times. Thank you for making time to speak with us, Mr. Wutal. Now, you have heard of these incidents that have been reported. I know Shrach has issued a statement on the attack on the Ghanaian Times journalist. Now, we also have this attack on the Reverend Wusu Bempo moving to Radio XYZ to essentially demand to meet Mugabe Mase. And then we also have the attack on the police. What is your reaction to all of that?
Thank you, Mr. Lai. It's a pleasure to be on your platform. Let me first of all indicate that since 1993, Ghana has been treading the path of democratic consolidation. Our institutions have been tested, and the Constitution itself has also been tested, and we have seen some weakness. What I have realized is that democratic policing in Ghana needs to be tweaked. We have, in an attempt at ensuring that we have a police service that is fit for purpose, give it all the power to protect our citizens, ended up creating a monster that even the people, the citizens who are to be protected are no longer safe from police. There's a need for us to look at certain principles undergirding the Constitution. Accountability of all institutions and persons, transparency of all processes that such institutions use, and above all, conflict of interest when it comes to the conduct of public office. Now, when you look at these, when you apply these principles to the situation that we find ourselves, and I must first of all indicate that the police are doing a great job. They're protecting us. We don't have much of a problem. But there has been consistently excessive use of force against citizens.
Why do you think this is so, Mr. Wutal?
It is so because I think, one, we used to have a Ghana police force, which in the past was just like the armed forces, meant to quell, subdue, ensure citizens were obeying law and order. But when we converted to, that's my perspective, to the police as a service, we forgot to actually retrain, reorient the mentality of our police service. And so we went straight from force to service, and some of the manifestations of that force is still in operation. Why would you go raid a whole village because there has been a complaint, pick up all men who are capable of committing a crime, even if they are up to about 60, lock them up in the police cells until such a time that you are able to determine through some whatever interrogations that you are able to do to know who would have caused an offense. You don't do that. What about the liberty of all those people you have picked up? What do you do? Why would you do that?
Mr. Utal,
this is happening.
Yeah, Mr. Utal, whilst we're talking about the brutality that sometimes the police visit on civilians and on suspects, we're also seeing these attacks on the police. And we're talking about the case where the driver and the mate attacked this police officer and they actually got into a brawl. How do you explain that as well?
I will attempt an explanation, and it is this. When you exhibit impunity to such a degree, you lose the confidence and trust of the people over whom you are to protect. And when that is lost, the respect for the uniform of state that you wear is gone. So the person seeing you, knowing that your foibles and all those things that you are involved in and the misuse of power and authority will not respect you and would stand up against you and challenge you because you are no longer the person that you are pretending to be.
All right.
And that is the position.
All right. Now, in all of this too, we also see you get these complaints that the police appears to be swift to act when it has to do with one of theirs. But then they don't act that quickly or that swiftly when it has to do with others, such as these journalists who attacked, the Ghanaian Times journalists who were attacked, and other instances that we've had. What would you have to say to that, and how do we address that?
Now, that is an interesting dimension. And that brings in the principle of conflict of interest, as I mentioned. While the principle of accountability is still in place, we now have a situation where the police see themselves as one. Okay? If my colleague has been badly bitten, I take it to be that it could be me. If the citizens have turned round to begin to retaliate, we need to make sure that we put them in check. And so we are able to, in terms of conflict of interest, to look at the policeman who is beaten by the truck driver and his mate, and his mate, as somebody we need to protect because it could have been me. And I'm saying that the processes that the rapidity with which they have investigated and these people have been put before court and possibly, I don't know how soon, prosecutions will begin. The idea is simply that we have created a police service without ensuring the issue of accountability.
All right.
And that is why when it comes to the conduct of the police, if citizens have a responsibility to complain against the police, they should not go back to the police.
All right.
Because of that principle of conflict.
All right. Thank you very much, Joseph Whittal. Joseph Whittal is Strat Commissioner. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. Deputy Speaker of Parliament rebuffed calls for President Akufo-Addo to withdraw a list of appointments being considered by the Appointments Committee because it doesn't have enough women.
I think from the material available, the number of female MPs immediately available, I think the President has done the best within the circumstances.
And then ahead in business, ahead of Joy Business Financial Services Forum, the National Insurance Commission is hinting of plans to amend the current act to include compulsory insurance of government properties.
We are trying to review the act to actually make sure that in the future, government will also be compelled to do insurance. We believe that government is the biggest employer in Ghana.
Right, we're going over now to Winneba, where the Governing Council of the University of Education, Winneba, has been addressing a news conference on the recent disturbances there, which has forced a shutdown of the school. Let's listen in now.
The past 1 week, the University of Education, Winneba, has taken the headlines in the media for the negative reasons. Just when the university had achieved some relative peace after the 2017-18 crisis and had initiated progress, including ensuring that discipline, law, and order take center stage in the administration of the university, providing conducive environment for students to go through the academic life, and ensuring that discipline is maintained in all aspects of academic life. Another crisis orchestrated by external individuals and some disgruntled forces have taken the university back, leading us to where we find ourselves now. The Governing Council is saddened by the turn of events, especially the wanton destruction of properties of staff in the university that have led to the eventual closure of the university. The Governing Council knows that several different versions of events that led to the dismissal, termination, and demotion or suspension of some staff, and which have maliciously been misrepresented in the media. The misinformation and misrepresentation have been used as a rationale for the violent attack on lives and properties in the university. Secondly, Council knows the attempt by several individuals and bodies, including UTAG, to question its authority and stampede it into taking decisions that will undermine discipline on our campuses. The Governing Council has assessed the damage caused during the escalation of the violence on the 4th day of the unrest and has taken note of all the issues and concern raised by the stakeholders during and after the period of the unrest. Also, the Governing Council has taken note of several issues of misinformation and sometimes outright lies that have taken the airways regarding the university. We have therefore called this press conference to clear the airways and to set the record straight on some of the major issues raised by certain individuals and groups in several media outlets and on social media. Council noted 3 major misinformation that took center stage on social media and other areas. They include the Council's disciplinary decision on staff, UTAG National's position on Council's disciplinary decisions, and the call on the Vice-Chancellor to resign. In all of this, we wish to assure the nation that the University of Education, Winneba, and its Governing Council is committed to peace, stability, and the maintenance of law and order. Council's disciplinary decision on 3 senior members. According to the UEW statute says, Schedule G, the following shall be referred to as the disciplinary rules, and except as otherwise provided, shall apply to all staff of the university. 1. Any act done without reasonable excuse by a person to whom these rules apply, which amounts to a failure to perform in a proper manner any duty imposed on him as such, or which contravenes any regulations, instructions, or directives relating to the employees of the university, or which is otherwise prejudicial to the efficient function of the university, or tends to bring the university into disrepute, shall constitute a misconduct. It is a misconduct for an employee of the university to A, absent himself from duty without leave or reasonable excuse, be insubordinate, use without the consent of appropriate authority any property or facility of the university for purposes not connected with the work of the university and not within the scope of the responsibilities, or engages in any activity which is likely to bring the university into disrepute, and engage in any gainful employment outside the university without the consent of the Vice-Chancellor. Again, any staff who have been dismissed, suspended, or demoted, or who have had their appointment terminated, were taken through due process of the law as established under Statute 36 and in accordance with Schedule G of our statute. Indeed, UTAG National, through their president, Dr. Eriko Poku-Mensah, in response to the dismissal or termination of appointment of the affected persons, had maintained on several platforms that the affected person had been dismissed based on trumped-up charges, and the university failed to take them through due processes. This position has also been trumpeted consistently by the dismissed staff, amplifying the position of some level of believability in the media. UTAG also went ahead and indicated that Dr. Frimpong Duku was dismissed because he had prevailed in UTAG appeal court case against the university, and that the dismissal was heavily orchestrated one, done through an emergency council meeting to ensure that Dr. Duku will never be able to take back his UTAG presidency because the vice chancellor knows what Dr. Duku was capable of doing, in quotes. These assertions are full of inaccuracies, outright lies and fabrications meant to disparage the governing council and create chaos and cause indiscipline on our campuses, a goal that UTAG has clearly achieved in the last few days. The following are some of the facts surrounding the disciplinary measures against the affected staff. In the case of Dr. Frimpong Duku, the timeline of his disciplinary action commenced on July 23, 2018, and ended with the submission of the disciplinary board letter to the acting vice chancellor then on 28 August 2018. Dr. Duku was handed a letter inviting him to meet an investigative body on July 20, 2018. The disciplinary process is in two parts. Under the first part, the affected individual is summoned before an investigative body. And under the second part, the person is summoned before a disciplinary board, if the investigative body so recommends. The timeline clearly indicates that the disciplinary action against Dr. Duku relative to the second part process commenced and ended about 5 months before he prevailed in his Court of Appeal case in January 2019. Dr. Duku appeared before the investigative committee set up to investigate his conduct and made submissions. When the investigative committee submitted its report to the disciplinary board, Dr. Duku decided not to appear before the committee with a letter from his lawyer advising him from appearing before the committee. It must be made clear that Dr. Duku was never one of those affected by the disciplinary actions against the 6 officers, let alone occasional dismissal. He led the applicant in the first case and exhibited courage by deposing to all the affidavits for and on behalf of the applicants, such as the Latin will say, volunti non fit injuria. That is to mean that he
Right, and that'll be it for the bulletin. But in line with our Ghana Month, we're bringing you a repeat broadcast of our hotline documentary, Living the High Life. It tells the high life story. Do stay tuned in. It comes up right next.